sad, Okay, welcome everyone. This is Thursday, the 25th of July 2024. Welcome to Seaford Town Council full council meeting here at Crossways Church. So I have an introduction that I'd like to read to you. I'd like to thank you all, public, councillors and officers, for joining us here today. I want you to be aware that the council is video recording this meeting and this will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. And I would just like to highlight some key points of the meeting format. Please can I ask everyone to have their phones turned off and set to silent. The fire exits are clearly marked, with the primary exit being through the main entrance, and the assembly point is on the forecourt at HSBC next to the Tesco Express store, a bit further up. Please remain seated unless you're invited to speak or need to take a comfort break. Members of the public are invited to participate in the meeting with the key points as follows. When the public participation session is introduced, please raise your hand to show you wish to speak and I will invite you to speak. If you're comfortable standing, please do so to ensure you can be heard across the room. Public participation is limited to a maximum of 4 minutes per person. You do not need to state your name when you start speaking. I would ask that participants looking to leave the meeting, wait until the end of an agenda item to limit distractions for other participants. To all present, please remember to show respect to others in the meeting and avoid interrupting where possible to enable others to follow the meeting. If any councillor feels concerned about any aspect of the meeting or discussion, please clearly state point of order, and I will then gesture for you to elaborate. If anyone present is felt to be behaving unacceptably, they can be ejected from the meeting by resolution. Thank you for listening, and on behalf of the council, I would like to thank everyone for attending this town council meeting. So I'm going to move to the first item on the agenda, which are apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everybody. Great to see you all. We've got 2 apologies this evening, Chair. Councillor Imogen Taylor has a personal appointment, and unfortunately, Councillor Jeff Butler is unwell. Thank you.
Second item on the agenda, disclosure of interests. This is to deal with any disclosure by members of any disclosable pecuniary interests and interests other than pecuniary interests as defined under the Seaford Town Council Code of Conduct and Localism Act 2011 in relation to matters on the agenda. Do I have any declarations of interest, please? No. Thank you very much. Item 3 is public participation. To deal with any questions or brief representations from members of the public in accordance with relevant legislation and Seaford Town Council policy. Do I have any? We do have someone, we do have 2. So, lady in the first, we do have 3. Thank you very much. Lady in the first row, thank you very much.
I'm sure my voice is loud enough. So, good evening everyone, good evening Madam Mayor. I'd like to refer and speak on tonight's agenda, item 12, the complaints policy. As a member of the public and a resident, I do have concerns regarding this new policy. I would like to say that it is a slight improvement on the existing policy, but I feel there is a long way to go. I would like to highlight the following. Appendix A, page 40 and 41, states whether it is a concern or a complaint, in the first instance a form has to be submitted. If either is a generalised issue, it will be fine, as it could not contain personal information or be sensitive. But should the concern or complaint be in regards to an individual employee of the council, including the town clerk, sending a form with details of a possible sensitive nature or a work-related matter where any employee can have access is bad practice and that's principles, which is stated on page 31, section 3. So please will councillors consider changing this and let it be dealt with in the first instance by the mayor in confidence, who will then pass on to the complaints panel. The council's existing complaints policy for an appeal was 21 working days. Now it's just 10 working days. Please will councillors reconsider this, as the council allows itself plenty of time as well as extensions, whereas if the appeal deadline for the complainant is missed, the appeal comes to an end. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your points. And could I have the lady behind you, please?
Good evening. My name is Charlotte Stock. I'm an independent bookseller, a member of the UK Booksellers Association, and authorised agent for National Book Tokens. My business, the Sussex Stags, is a small mobile training company that currently operates in and around Seaford and is rolling out its services to schools, theatres, exhibition spaces and community events. As a local trader, I'm keen to establish a regular trading pattern within my hometown of Seaford. Since submitting my original expression of interest to Seaford Town Council in January this year, I've been unable to progress an application for a street trading licence. The Lewis Council website states that licences to trade within the designated trading areas in Seaford are managed by Seaford Town Council. In contrast, a member of the projects and facilities teams told me that street trading licences are not issued by Seaford Town Council, and that to trade in the town, applicants can only apply for a designated concession. How do existing businesses such as the ice cream van operate, I wonder? On the officer's recommendation, I considered the options available. I was advised that South Hill Bond concession would not be open for applications this year, even though the coffee concession has recently changed. My proposal for a community reading room at the Old Town Hall was deemed commercial and inappropriate for the concession. The pop-up option at Bollingstead concession has now been postponed for consideration until 2025. In response to my submission at the last full council meeting, I was advised that street trading licences were issued by Seaford Town Council. Sadly, my request for further information on how to make an application has not received a response. Like other traders who have experienced issues surrounding trading commissions in Seaford, I now find myself financially out of pocket and placed on hold until trading opportunities for 2025 are released by the council. I have missed the potential for maximising my income during the peak trading months of June, July and August. The town's twice-a-month market is the only available opportunity to trade legitimately in the town. Please could the council confirm that it continues to issue street trading licences? Could it provide clear guidance online and in writing on how to make an application for a licence? And could it also confirm that it continues to uphold its stated aim of enabling future opportunities for economic well-being and an active community, because to date any supporting evidence has been thin on the ground. Thank you for hearing my submission.
Thank you very much indeed for your points, which I've noted. Back on the third person, please. Would you like the mic? Yes, it's a little bit echoey in here.
Thank you. I see you are in the middle of a round of reviews of procedural documents, policy documents, and so on. In recent times, it's become quite obvious that some of them are, such as the complaints policy, which you're discussing this evening, not fit for purpose, because it was so badly worded. I don't know what previous councils did about that. Looking at one or two others, you're looking at standing orders, and that impinges on other policy documents. There are parts of that document which need proofreading properly, linking across to other documents and making sure that they all match up together in as far as possible a personal style clear English manner. It's a very long document. You've got about 40 to 60 in all total, John, and in your head 71 time. It's an awful lot. At present, it's quite obvious that without a considerable amount of time and resources devoted to it, and a lot of councillor input, those documents will remain in patches, unclear or self-contradictory at times. Unless that is, you give the effort and the time allowed for them to be cleared up. I tried talking to the town council about 2 years ago about the public participation policy and a glitch in that. I was told, well, the council was told, that there was no problem with it, it was all right. It wasn't. Soon after that, 3 of us got kicked out of a committee meeting. The members also started shouting, standing order, standing order. It was betraying complete ignorance on part of those members of what standing orders activities. Not the or anything else. This was the due process of that committee. That again, because presumably the documents were so indistinct that the councillors could not understand them. They were certainly not understanding them quite clearly. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your points, all noted. Thank you everyone. And now I'd like to move on to item 4, which is petitions. In accordance with the Town Council petitions policy, this is a standard agenda item to facilitate any public petitions being presented to and noted by full council. Please note that this would not prompt a discussion on the petition at this meeting. So I will ask if we have any petitions, Town Clerk.
None for this meeting, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will now move on to item 5, which are to note the following minutes for approval or not approval and recommendations as required. And we are looking at 5.1 full council 9th of May 2024 and also 5.2 planning and highways 27th of June 2024. I will take 5.1 first. Does anyone have any comments on those draft minutes? Okay, so would we like to propose to note those minutes? Yeah, we accept them. Any proposals for noting the minutes? Councillor Olivia Honeyman, thank you. A seconder. Thank you very much. Councillor Louise Durton, all agreed. Thank you very much. That's passed. 5.2, planning and highway, June 2024. Do we have any comments on that?
Just going to go back. You didn't count the agreed. I don't agree. I abstained because I wasn't there, so I can't comment.
I apologise. Thank you very much. Did you count it?
Yeah.
You noted? Yeah.
It was in the unanimous vote.
To go on to the next minutes, planning and highways 27th of June 2024. Do I have any comments for those draft minutes? Councillor Warren.
Thank you. I propose that we accept the minutes.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that proposal? Councillor Coleman, thank you very much. All agreed? Not everyone, so can we just keep those hands a bit higher? Okay, so we have 2. One. Are you abstaining? Thank you very much. Yes, I still can. Yeah, it's all right. Just making sure the abstentions get in. Thank you. Thank you for that. We're going to move on to item 6, which is the mayor's update. It is my job, I guess. So this is to present the mayor's update report and details of engagements. And there's also a little bit of information information for you to read as well. So I'm very happy to just list, as before you, there is a list of the events and engagements that I and my Deputy Mayor, Councillor Maggie Weirman, has been involved in over the past couple of months. We've been quite busy, as you can see. And also, I'd just like to say that there is a little bit of a preamble, or a post-amble, I guess, afterwards in Appendix A. And it really I just wanted to share with you that it has and is always a privilege and a delight to attend all these events. And I must admit, there's quite an eclectic mix, as you can see. What it does give me is this fantastic opportunity not only to meet residents, but also to meet a whole variety of organisations and groups. And this has also been helping me to continue to work with my health stakeholders group and inviting appropriate representatives as that group goes forward, and I know we'll be discussing that later on the agenda this evening. And then most recently, of course, I've very much enjoyed hosting my civic reception. Last Saturday we had over 100 guests and over 100 participations with dignitaries, 2 ukulele groups and 14 local organisations, all of which were offering care, support and friendship to vulnerable communities and individuals. And there was an enormous amount of networking. And then we also had the privilege of hearing from my own charity, Sea Friends. And this charity was able to also announce that we are going to be opening, or with her, I'm supporting her, but she's going to be opening with Wave Leisure a men's shed. And that's going to be happening towards the end of August, September. We have premises, and we also have a project already. And that's already accumulated a lot of support. And then I was also excited to see a cooking demonstration by Joan McFarlane, who then gave us the most substantial plates of picnic food, all the menu items listed on her website and on ours in our picnic packs. The idea being that we're going to encourage everyone to go away and have a picnic, and if you really want some scintillating company, you can invite yourself and Maggie to come and have our photos taken at the picnic. And we have a fantastic map, which was prepared by Tom Jones, who's a map maker. And I don't know, I think it's a rather exciting adventure. And we seem to be getting a lot of positive feedback already. And I've already got picnics lined up this weekend. So let's pray for some good weather. So thank you for all of that. Any comments, anyone?
Sure, perhaps a question. If council's overlooked, excellent, is that why we're meeting?
Are we texting, or are we looking for something, Councillor Dubois?
Sorry, I'm looking for something.
That's all right.
We're not paying attention.
I am paying attention.
Thank you, Councillor Lord. Let's just put our focus down. Okay, so any questions or comments about the Mayor's report? No. Great. Okay, so the move is to note the content of the report. Do we propose that, please? Thank you, Councillor Honeyman. And a seconder, Councillor Matthews. Well done. All agreed. Everyone, I think that is unanimous. Well done, everyone. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item 10. So this is the... Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm not about that. Easily done. Let's go back. Thank you so much, Councillor. Yes, well done. Let's go back. So, item 7, Town Council Working Group Reports. A standard agenda item to accommodate reports from active Town Council working groups. Do we actually have any reports?
No, Chair, although it's fair to say item 11 may have some relevance to this item, and also there's part of item 10 that covers this, but there isn't something for this particular item. I see Councillor Buchanan, Chair, has his hand up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Buchanan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just got a bit of a brief update on the sterling efforts of the Seaford Barn working group.
Point of order, please. This is in public domain, this. You see what I mean?
Well, it's his.
It's a working group, but is it in the public domain? You can see
I understand what your question, Councillor Hanneman, is that obviously working groups do not meet publicly, but obviously this agenda item is to enable public reporting of the work of the working groups. So I would hope that in this case, the chair of the working group is obviously mindful of what can be reported, I suppose. Is that what you're trying to ask?
Well, I'm on the same group as well.
Yeah.
I don't want if what Councillor McKenna's trying to say is not in the public realm, then could it be contentious? That's what I'm trying to say. It's up to Councillor McKenna to know if it actually in the public domain it is, because some of them are afraid to be confidential. So
no, I completely understand the sensitivity and the question that you're asking. And I think that obviously this item is there to enable public transparency for working groups, but it's completely recognised the working groups are set up as closed groups, so there's no necessity to report under this item. Thank you.
Councillor Buchanan, would you like to say something that is within the public domain about working group?
The truth is, I don't know what is in the public domain. However, I don't think this is going to be contentious in the slightest. I just wanted to give an update on the timetable for completion of the report. The draft is kind of coming to a head. A fully draft report is planned to be issued to the next working group on the 14th of August. This will allow a couple of weeks for the team to read and inwardly digest. And the idea is to finalise the report to be submitted to full town council officers or town council officers by the 10th of September, ready for the report to full council on the 26th of September. That's one.
Thank you very much for that update. Really helpful on the timescale. Do we have any other working group comments? Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, you're most welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Moving on to item 8 on the agenda, outside body representative reports. This is a standard agenda item to enable town councillors appointed as representatives of outside bodies of the town council to give a brief verbal update on relevant businesses or activities in the outside body. It's the noting only. Do we have any contributions towards this or any feedback? Okay, Councillor Richard.
Hi there, good evening. Yeah, it'll say you write in the notes, that's why you can paraphrase what I'm going to paraphrase. You don't have to include it all in the notes, and I know you won't anyway. So on the 7th of June, in the Purdah period, I did attend a seminar at the New Home Marine Workshop. That was one of the Eastbourne establishments now, of course, on the East Sussex Association of the Council, which is the East Sussex part of the South, effectively. And it was a seminar attended by various clerks and councillors. It was on basically the three levels of council and on behalf of the LDC there was two senior planning officers there and a senior no-labour first officer. And obviously, for the county council, the director of the county council's highways was also in attendance. As Rob, you may know, he also does community environment brief as well. So there was some pre-advanced questions to travel Leicester or South, and most of the questions generally did come from the smaller parishes within the LDC sort of area. Issues included funding the smaller councils who wish to raise more, because generally their precept is very low compared to maybe a council like ours. The local council plan from the East Sussex, which is ongoing and imminently going to be reported. Sewage issues with runoff fields, flooding associated with that, and the communications with East Sussex Highways and with utility companies. And then the South National Park plan got talked about as well. cross-funding with the council to avoid duplication and sharing of resources at the layers of councils. Street lighting was interesting at crossings in the rural areas on some of the main roads, the busy roads. Water issues for supplying of water and taking it away for the new housing estates. Big more to go. They put a plan of housing sites, of course. I mean, that you can't really get away from that. It's always there. Section 137, power of general competence, which is another way, I think, of raising money for those smaller councils. And then quite a big section on permitted development issues. And there were some very specific questions, and some of the detailed answers were going to be dealt with away from the action meeting and responded to the appropriate clerks from the various councils. And that was it. That was happened on the 7th of June, and it was about 3 hours all in. Thank you very much, Madam.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cunningham. It's very, very helpful, and thank you for preparing the report for the officers as well. Do we have any other outside body reports? Yes. Thank you very much. Councillor Bristow.
Thank you. Thanks, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to briefly say that, just checking my calendar there, I believe it was on the 30th, Sunday the 30th of June, I attended as outside body rep the open garden at Seaford Allotment Society at Sutton Drove, and that was my first meeting with the committee there, and it was fantastic to see what they had laid on in terms, not just a tin cake, which is very delicious, but actually all the amazing work that people who hold the allotments do up there, what the committee do to support them all. It's quite a big operation in terms of getting composting, trying to make it as sustainable as possible, the challenges they have with water, so on and so forth, and just hearing from allotment holders what it means to them. And in fact, it's a real social point, lifeline, kind of well-being area, as well as just a place to grow food. So it was really fantastic to go to, and I do urge any councillors, if they have another open day, I know that they're open from time to time, to pop up and have a look what goes on up there. It was really great to see. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bristow, for that update. Thank you. Do we have any other outside body reports? Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for your work on those bodies. I know that most people have got something that they're really interested in, and it's great that they have your support. So 9, District and County Councillor update reports, to give an opportunity for an update from councillors at a district or county level on business and activities that affect Seaford and the local area. So do we have any feedback from our district and county councillors at this point? Councillor Edmondson?
Well, I'm sorry, using my phone, so I'm not in the game. Okay, so first thing is that the County Council have announced a £1 million extra funding to fix potholes across the county. 400 potholes will be filled. That's the good news. Unfortunately, the bad news is only 2 roads were approved in Seaford. So, at least as part of the same, but that's still good news. So the potholes have been fixed across the county. So that means in total this year, £22 million would have been spent on fixing potholes in the county. There's a well-being technology trial that is being rolled out in conjunction with either social care and with the NHS Sussex. And the whole idea is to use research technology to see how that can be used using AI and IT to boost the well-being of all the residents. Now, this has been tried in P7, and the plan is to have this rolled out across the county to many older residents. So it will be all the residents of housing and accommodation. Finally, a few weeks ago, there was in the library there was a Children's Books Day to encourage children to read, and children voted for their best books. And I think the best book, I'm trying to scroll down my note now. Anyway, children voted for their best book, and I think the water was given a check of £250. And finally, the flex bus that was introduced last year, there's made some changes to it. Now anyone can book any journey within 14 miles from their zone. So it makes it easier for residents, especially in Seaford, to be able to travel across the county. So again, if you can encourage residents to use the flex bus, it's been improved and it's easier now to use. That's the best thing.
Thank you very much, Councillor Adams. Really helpful. Councillor Olivia Hunter.
Yes, we were due to have a district council meeting on Monday, but that's been cancelled, well, is cancelled, due to the fact that there wasn't much on the agenda. So it does mean that the meeting in September that was penciled in will actually happen. So I've just quickly went onto the Lewis District Council website, and I just sort of mentioned about the rollout of wheelie bins. So Seaford has been done, and they're now in phase 4. We're in the 4th and final phase, so we are getting there. Residents are still being contacted as district councillors saying they've got the wrong bins, but then the district council are coming to collect them. They might not necessarily do it on the same day though, so that it's been done. But other than that, obviously we've just gone through the election period, which is why most of all the meetings district council were cancelled or postponed. So I don't know if any other district councils have got anything else, but there's not really been much going on because of the general election.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Olivia Hunter. Anybody else got anything to add from a district perspective? Councillor Mead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is not really affecting directly Seaford, but you might like to know that a couple of days ago, the planning department of the District Council passed the new development, which is going to be on the West Quay, above the West Beach, where there's going to be a restaurant and some kind of children's water play facilities, and it's going to kind of complement the fort area. But that's just because people often go down to New Haven, and you might like to know that this is developed, and it's been passed through. I think it's quite an exciting project actually for a bit of barren wasteland at the bottom of the cliffs. Thank you. It's not directly related to Seaford.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Any other feedback from councillors at all? Okay, thank you. Oh, Councillor.
Yes, just to briefly mention the local planning process is, of course, going ahead, and that includes additional sites currently being looked at in Seaford, which you can look at the Lewis District Council website. Of course, that does one of the there has been a general election in the meantime, and the rules around local plans have changed a number of times, which has meant that the Lewis District local plan is outdated. So I'm sure the council is hopeful that they can go ahead with the process as it is.
Thank you very much.
Sorry,
yes.
Okay, can I just say, in relation to that, it's been pointed out to us, it's very important to note that things that get put into the proposed plan aren't necessarily buildings that are going to be developed. It's all just part of what is being assessed. A lot of residents are getting very upset about certain things, even being suggested to be put in the plan, but they all have to be assessed to start with before you can then retrench and decide which ones are going to be chosen. So people shouldn't get too upset about it at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you. That's definitely wise words. Thank you very much. Okay, any other further updates? All right, thank you very much for those reports. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to item 10. Over your head there.
Thank you, Chair.
So this is the update, Town Clerk's update report. Thank you very much, Town Clerk.
Thank you, Chair. I hope the report has provided a reasonable comprehensive update for councillors on all the usual aspects, again showing how busy we are, but also these very important updates within the body of the actual materials. As I say, I'm not going to go into any more detail than is provided here, but I'm very happy to take questions and comments from councillors. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone have any comments on the Town Clerk's update report?
Well, excellent,
Councillor Lord.
excellent, very thorough and very comprehensive. Thank you.
Sorry about that. moment. Okay, does anyone else have any? Councillor Duval, and then Councillor Bristow. Thank you.
First of all, I'm not old school. My notes are on my phone. If I want to look at my phone, I will. There's nothing in standing orders to stop me.
Don't look at me, Councillor. Address the chair, the town council. Please don't look at me.
Well, you were the one that said what you said. There were no objections to Councillor.
Please don't look at me. Address your
I'm looking at the Mayor.
Good.
Councillor Adeji used his phone. There were no objections. When I use mine, there's an objection. So I'd like that to be picked into place.
Thank you, Councillor Duval.
First point. Second point, item 2.1, forward plan of campervan parking. Ages ago we talked about there was little much we could do other than change the parking enforcement, and I think Town Park has looked into when that's going to start. However, we did also talk about making the gravel bit that we own difficult for people to park long ways on, and nothing's happened to that, but yet that's in our control. Could you update me on why that is the case? And also, is it possible that somebody could look into changing the adding a bylaw that makes it illegal in our council area to park a campervan there? Because then if it goes as a bylaw, we can then report it to the police, and then we will end up with incidents that are logged in that area for parking enforcement to then come by for the police to do something about. Is that okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Duval. Would you like to take a question?
I'm happy to go one council at a time, Chair, if that's okay. Thank you, Councillor Duval. Very absolutely fair questions and points. I think that maybe without the detail, maybe isn't here, but we've covered this at previous meetings, that the council is taking what can also be described as a staged approach to this issue. The first step was to see what could be done under the auspices of the parking review, and especially that piece of land that basically was unenforceable as it stood. And as this report confirms, the necessary work has taken place with East Sussex and Lewis District to enable the strip of land that the council owns to now be under the same jurisdiction as the rest of the seafront, and therefore which enables it to have a 12-hour parking limit restriction upon it to prevent campervans parking there for days at a time with no redress for the residents affected by that. What the note here is covering is that there are different stages to this. There's the public consultation which has been completed. Then there's East Sussex deciding to act based upon the consultation, which they have done. But then the actual legal orders have to be enacted, and highways weren't exactly sure when the enactment will happen, and then enforcement becomes possible at that point. Obviously, I'm hoping that we all hope that sooner rather than later, but at some point enforcement will then be possible regarding campervans on the strip of land that we own. Moving on to your second point about strip of land, yes, the plan was always, having done that, to then see are there any measures the town council can take or not, and there is a meeting taking place with highways actually next week, where we're discussing with them what possible measures could be taken in addition to the parking consultation measures. So once we've had that liaison with highways, we'll be in a better position to inform councillors about what options are, and then those options will come to Community Services Committee to consider, and we'll make sure that bylaws is one of the matters to be considered. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Town Clerk, for that response. Does anyone else have any further questions on the Town Clerk's report? Councillor Bristow, yes.
Thank you. I've got 2 points. They both concern things on page 15, so thank you for the report, Town Clerk. The first one, I'm going to pick up on the box at the top, number 8, climate action. The first is a bit of semantics, but I'm going to say, because I do think it's important, we've said it many times through subcommittee, that we want to be moving forward with a climate action plan rather than climate delivery plan, so that we can be inspired by, take direction from, and also take advantage of what's been done nationally, because there's accepted terminology and models for producing these things. So I'll just pick up on that point. But more to the point, our last scheduled meeting has been cancelled, and we will look to whether it's a reschedule or postpone or what have you. But I do feel how climate change has been since I've come in, that it's not getting the attention that it deserves, and I would like to see the work stream for climate action come up into the fore a bit more, especially now that it is our 6th strategic objective as a council. My second point is in relation to 3.2, the Crouch Working Group. I understand there's been, on which I sit, and I'm obviously a ward councillor as well, I understand that there's been a complaint which has come in about some aspect of this which has forced it to be delayed. The last I'd heard was that we were to review a draft report before it came to council, and I understand that's now going to be September. It says in the report here, the very last sentence, that the temporary arrangements which had been agreed last autumn in relation to the 3 aspects in particular that we're considering, and do note that there are many other things which surround this and underpin it, but the 3 sort of most urgent, those being the gates, the adverts and signage around the pitches on the buildings, and the flood lighting, those were actually approved on a temporary basis for a period of 9 months, and we were all very keen to have a resolution so that both residents and the football club would have some certainty with the way in which they can move forward. Now, I'm sure we're all committed to that, and whilst it may be pragmatic to, in effect, extend this, I wonder whether this is correct procedure, given that councillors had to vote on that and authorise it to go through, that perhaps that should be coming back to council. And I'm concerned, as are many others, that if this isn't resolved in time for September full council, that there will be yet more delays, and then we're going into the sort of darker season where things are used more and so on and so forth. So really my point is I hope that we come swiftly into a resolution and that this is prioritised, so that at least this first phase we can get a clear direction for everybody who uses the Crouch. So yeah, that's what I would like to bring up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, councillors, for the points noted. Would you like to respond if you have anything?
Very happy to respond, Chair. But again, really grateful to Councillor Bristow for the points that have been raised. I think the name of the plan is something we can definitely determine through the subcommittee, so as the plan's taken forward through the subcommittee, if they wish to be a climate action plan, then that's what it can become, so that point is totally noted. I also take your more general point, and I think it's fair to say that all the officers are really, one of the reasons officers are very committed to the committee review that's going to be happening is to see what lessons we can learn and how we can help process the work better. I think sometimes because the council is doing a lot of effective work in relation to climate emergency, maybe that has some impact upon us not having addressed all of our processes as we should, but we definitely need to do that. So let's work together and get better process for the committee review. That's very loud and clear. In terms of your points about the 3.3, again, they're heard loud and clear. I think it would be fair. I think I didn't go into the detail here, but basically the full motion said that there will be a working group report before the council considered these items, and because there hasn't been a working group report, that's why the council has not been asked to consider these items. The working group report delay has effectively extended the period. We've taken all the motions together. That's really the most sensible way that all of those motions together can be dealt with a delay to the actual working group report. So that's how come we've done it like this within the process. But I agree with you, and so in terms of if anything comes to light that would cause September Council to not be able to consider these matters, we will have to bring some sort of motion to September for Council, so councillors can reserve a way forward. So that's her motion as well.
Thank you very much, Clark. Councillor Meek and then Councillor Adoniji.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know if it's allowed, I wanted to ask you a question, Chair, not specifically to do with anything on your report, but since it came up by a member of the public today to clarify something for me, which was, are street trading licences issued by Lewis District Council, which is what I understood it to be, but there's a member of the public was saying that she had heard that it was actually issued by Seaford Town Council. I'm confused about what the state of play is on that.
Thank you, Councillor. I mean, again, Chair, without setting any precedent,
Yes.
I'm happy to answer that question, but without trying to turn this item into open season in the future. But partly because it did come up under public participation as well. So I think we're willing to be flexible on this occasion, Chair, through you. I think that, just to say the team are actually looking at we're really grateful to the resident for the points she raised this evening. We are looking at those points. I want to get absolute clarity on that because it seems that some of the information in the public domain is a little bit contradictory on that at the moment. So we're trying to make sure we establish a completely correct position, and then we'll make sure that the resident and councils are clear on that as soon as we can.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Adoniji.
Thank you, Chair. Just actually, two quick digressions. From my understanding, from when I was at Lewis District Council, along the seafront is up to Seaford Town Council to actually grant licenses to that. That's not covered by Lewis District Council. Inland it is, but not the seafront. That's my understanding. I'm sure the town clerk will get that clarified. Before I go to my point, I just want to have a quick rant. I was going to bring this up on the standing order, but I use my phone, and I'm making my apologies for that. I use my phone during meetings because sometimes I have to go onto our website and check standing order and check financial regs. So I make my apology for any challenge intervention about using my mobile phone. So I will take the lecture to my councillor on that. Now, my 2 points are as follows. Christmas magic. I know you started to work on Christmas magic. I've had a few complaints last year about some shopkeepers felt that they weren't consulted. And I see you said working with Seaford. So I hope that's also working, not just the Chamber of Commerce, but working with traders along Broad Street. So I just want to get some assurance that you will try to engage as many shopkeepers as possible. The second point, again, while we're not be talking to getting those done, so I think it's a big achievement, but there's been lots of complaints or emails to me about toilets not being cleaned, about it being a joint male-female toilet, about being, especially female residents going in and finding it unclean, with men, no. So I just wanted to know what steps, are you aware of these complaints and what steps is being taken to address this complaint? But overall, I think it's a big achievement that we got that done.
Again, through you, Chair, happy to pick up the points raised by Councillor Adoniji. In terms of Christmas budget, yes, we're really grateful to the Traders Group for taking up our offer to work with them more closely for this year's Seaford budget, Christmas budget, and obviously we would hope that between them, the Chamber and the Traders Group are able to represent at least the vast majority of traders in the town, and that's how part of it. So I suppose the message might also be to an extent to individual traders, are you able to work through those channels, and then we can do the partnership working effectively together. But definitely keen to do it. And then in terms of your point, yes, I'm very grateful to Izzy and her team who have set up means for public feedback on Montana toilets and how that's going. And obviously once we've had a period of time, we can look at that feedback and see if any changes are needed, and then we'll come back to council if they are based upon the public feedback we've had so far. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Town Clerk. Are there any other comments about Town Clerk's taking forward? Okay. Do we have a proposal then to go back to note the contents of the report. Councillor Miller, thank you. Second by Councillor. Yes. Okay, Councillor Sturton, Ruth Sturton, and all agreed? Thank you very much for that. Okay, so we're now moving on to item 11. Thank you very much, Councillor. Right, okay, agenda 11, item 11. So, yes, I should know this anyway. Purpose of the report to establish a Seaford Health Stakeholders Working Group. My little pin left its paper. Okay, so I'm going to turn to Isabel just to present this report. If that's okay.
I haven't got anything further to add, just as if there are any questions.
Okay, well, I guess you could ask me or Isabel for any questions, as I'm actually chairing the group currently. So, do we have any questions or comments about the stakeholders, health stakeholders working group? So, the idea of this is to establish it now as a Seaford Health and Stakeholders Working Group. Before it was perceived as an outside body, but there was quite a lot of confusion about that because it had Seaford Town Council officers involved within it. So there has been a proposal to move it to be accepted as a working group. So this is why it's come to our attention today. So if people are happy, I was thinking we will probably take items 1 to 3, and then we will perhaps ask for another couple of councillors to join that group if anyone else is interested, if that's okay with everyone. So the recommendations are: 1, to establish a Seaford Health Stakeholders Working Group; 2, to note the working group's stakeholder invite list; and 3, to agree the working group's terms of reference. Do we have a proposer for those 3? Thank you, Councillor Adamiji. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Baldwin. Thank you very much. All agreed. So we also just okay, so the 4th recommendation is that in the report there is a suggestion that we could have up to 4 councillors on the group. At the moment, I'm very happy chairing the group. We also have Councillor Imogen Taylor, who's has been attending since the group was re-established. I'm just wondering if there are any other councillors who would like to have their names put forward for that group.
Can I say something, but not your names?
No. Oh, yeah. At this point, is this about the recommendation for?
Yes, it is.
Lovely. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for allowing me to say something on this. I really welcome this, and I just wanted to point out the link between health, well-being and our climate change objectives and the climate emergency policy. And all I was really going to say is that it would be fantastic if we have at least 1 councillor on the group who is also a member of the climate change subcommittee, so that we can ensure that sort of direct linkage there. I'm not going to put myself forward purely due to time constraints, otherwise I would. But I believe Councillor Taylor is currently on climate change, so that's good. But just sort of going forward, and it would be great to sort of, you know, get that linkage going. So that's all the point I wanted to make. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Brister. So does anyone wish to put themselves forward? We have 2 names we're looking for. It's a terribly exciting group. I'm going to start bringing the cake. I really think you should come along.
It's so popular.
Okay,
I'm nominating myself. Are we able to have information after the meeting on meeting times and see whether it's viable?
So it's daytimes on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock usually.
I'm definitely.
I think that's why it's not very popular.
I was going to say, it's daytime.
Just following up what Councillor Hollow was saying, I'd just like to understand a bit more about what the setup is.
After the meeting. Okay. Thank you. So we don't have any councillors putting themselves, but if you change your minds at any time, please do contact myself or Isabel, who has the database. Thank you very much. So now we are going to, I think that's all we need to do with that. We've agreed with those things.
Yeah.
We don't go any further. Yeah. Yes?
Point of order on standing orders, current standing orders. What's its committee?
Sorry, stop.
Working groups don't have a parent committee. What's its parents committee?
What the Seaford Health Stakeholders Working Group?
It's got to have its parent committee.
In this case, it would be the full council.
Okay, can we have that many different committees?
We can have that later.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor.
Okay, so we do need to pass motion for workshop because this is up to full.
Okay, well, so can we then agree to recommend appoint up to 4 town councillors to the working group proposal? Thank you very much, Councillor Bristow. Seconder. Thank you very much, Councillor Dubar. All agreed. Okay, thank you very much. Moving forward. That's my next opinion. Okay. So this is agenda item 12. Here we're looking at adopting the revised and retitled Concerns and Complaints Policy as presented. And I'm going to ask George just to speak to this to begin with and then take any comments. Try mine.
All right, thank you. I'll project. It's okay. So just to say that council will be aware of the distribution is presented at May full council, and then a task force group was set up to go away and look at what was the complaints policy and has now been resubmitted as a concerns and complaints policy. The group's done some fantastic work, lots of brainstorming, lots of looking at other examples. Yeah, it's now presented, so I won't go down through the reports from the appendices, but we've got the group members here as well, so if you've got any questions, please with us.
Okay, so can we have any questions, please? Councillor Dubar, first, thank you.
Thank you. I was delighted to see the working group coming together and great work done by the officers and councillors to come up with this.
Sorry, Chair, can you speak up?
Sorry,
I can't hear the mic. Get your mic now, it's a bit echoey. Thank you.
Hello.
Oh, very nice.
Testing.
No jazz. Thank you, Councillor Dubar. Okay.
So I was just saying that I was delighted to see the working group come into being and the structure and the outcome is very good, and I know there's a lot of hard work gone into this. But I do unfortunately have a couple of items that I would like to raise with you. And a couple of them have already been raised by a member of the public. And so the question is the use of emails. They're anonymous emails. We don't know which member of staff it is that we're emailing. So if a member of the public wanted to complain about you could be the one opening the email, and that, wouldn't be very good. And then it doesn't allow for an item later on that says you will remain anonymous, because clearly you are. So I think it needs to be named people or an explanation as to who concerns email will be going to. Is that going to be Isabel? Is it going to be Georgia? And likewise the complaints one. And the same thing also applies to opening posts. You could be the one that opens the post to find a complaint about you, or about a junior member of staff or a senior member of staff. So there's no confidentiality there on handling. So I wondered if that could be looked at, please. And also in the flow chart, it's a little bit overcomplicated, and I think it just needs to start off with filling the form, because it's one form, and you tick either concerns or complaints. You've got to go right through the policy to get to the form. I think that should be the first thing you say, the form, or reference to the form, do this, do that. So I've got some notes I can send along if you want, rather than explain everything on here. Is that okay? Oh, and also, how does a member of the public get feedback on points they've raised, please?
Okay. Thank you for your point. So, Councillor Dubai, you've made quite a lot of issues that could be amendments within the policy. Totally get that. I think there's a question there at the end, but there may be another question actually about who receives. So I don't know whether Georgia wants to take both of those. So there's who receives, where does the post or where does the email drop into? Who's going to look at those? And then later, yeah.
Yes, so I think with regards to who receives and checks in, obviously not as loud as I think I am.
That's a good.
Is that going to work? Yeah. Okay. So with regards to who checks emails and posts, to be honest, we haven't thought to that level of detail yet. Obviously, we can go away and we can work out exactly who's going to be the primary person to receive that, internally, who's covering in their absence. So that doesn't necessarily prevent, adopting it as it is today. We can take that away as an action just to look at and tweak before we then implement the new policy. With regards to how public get feedback, is that about their concern or complaints, so how the feedback goes to them?
Sorry, I meant today.
The
public raised the same thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't say. But there was no feedback, so I just wondered how that works.
We can do that now. So obviously the question was very similar there, wasn't it? So what we'll do is we'll go away and we'll look at who is checking those emails and just make sure that it's clear in the policy. The other point you raised was around the appeal. So it was 21 days to submit an appeal. We've recommended bringing that down to 10. I think that's open to council really. If you want to consider extending the appeal period, that's absolutely fine. So I think I'd leave that for councillors to discuss if they want to and recommend a change there. The other point you made obviously was around the order of the documents and bringing the form before the flowchart. I can see that both ways. In a way, sometimes it's good for people to read the process before they then get to what they need to fill in. So again, I might leave that one for the room to consider, or maybe there's some members of the working group who might want to respond on that.
Yeah, it goes back to the working group. Comes back to full council on the 1st of August. Would that happen?
No, because the 1st of August agenda is going tomorrow, so that there would be no time for that.
Right. Okay, thank you for your points, which we obviously noted. Thank you for your feedback. Do we have any further? Councillor, right, okay. One, Councillor Bristow, Councillor Hannon, yeah?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think a lot of good work has gone into this. I would like to draw attention to something around the issue of confidentiality. And there's nothing in the document itself that I have any issues with, but like a subsequent issue that I think needs to be addressed at the same time. And that's the document says, where your issue relates to a councillor or officer, we will not share your identity with the councillor or officer without your permission. We all understand the reasons for that confidentiality, but where complaints against individuals, not all complaints directed at individuals, it could be against decision policies, whatever. Where a complaint is made against an individual, that has serious implications for the individual, whether an officer or a councillor. And there are some important principles of justice here. And that is, if an allegation is made against me, I have a right to know the case against me. and know the strength and credibility of the case against me, and I have a right to make a reply. So at some stage, and we have to be clear on that, at some stage, if a complaint is against an officer, the identity of the person making the complaint must become known. And I'm sure this would never happen, but I mean, I understand that there's still some matters over which councillors can be surcharged in respect of their decisions. Where such a complaint should be made to me, against me, and where it's made by a tempestuous ex-lover motivated by jealousy, then I want to raise that matter in my defence. And where I'm not able to do that, I would say that there isn't at that point no case to answer. And so people who wish to make complaints do need to know that implication, and we do need to have that aspect of due process of, for the benefit of people against whom complaints might be made.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stone. Could we just move to the next one? Can you come back to us, Councillor Lord? Got another two people that want to speak, is that right? Councillor Bristol. Oh, okay. No, it wasn't Councillor Honey. Yeah. Take a room beside you,
Thank you. Yeah, two things. First of all, I just wanted to ask how often you would envisage keeping the complainant appraised of what's going on. For example, if the complaint turns out to be of such a complex nature that extra time is needed, presumably they would be informed of the sort of anticipated timescale and perhaps given, I don't know, weekly, fortnightly updates, something like that. And I think that, you know, if that is the case, which I'm sure there will be something of that nature, and I'm seeing nodding heads, that could be described within the procedure, just to give people some peace of mind and reassurance and set expectations. I think it's a really good move forward from what we had before, and I recognise that although there's been some what I would call beta testing of this early on, that the recommendation or the anticipation is that after a year this is reviewed and sort of to see how it goes, whether further changes need to be made. So on that note, I was just going to say that obviously it's not feasible to do it now, but perhaps for the next iteration, the flow chart, which I think is a really good effort, but I do think sort of having thought through there, I'm in agreement with Councillor Dubas that you know, there needs to be a sort of box between the I have an issue and have you submitted a concern about this issue before, i.e. to fill in a form, because there may be some things which merit going directly to complaint, although you know, I totally understand that we want to catch concerns as and if they are. And with the flowchart at large, it would be great, you know, flowchart should flow. It would be great to have some colour tracks, some arrows, and which actually cross-reference the kind of concerns track, if you like, and the complaints track, and the appeals track. So maybe that's something that can be thought about for next year. Obviously, it's not really feasible to do it for now. And I'd be very happy to sit down and help with that, should that be needed. So those are my suggestions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Bristow. Who's next? Councillor Honeyman.
Thank you very much. I'm assuming, Madam Mayor, that you're accepting that the form of communication from whoever the complainant is going to be consistent throughout. So that's one, you wouldn't want someone to change halfway, so that's one issue. I'm assuming this particular, when you are recording, you've got a bit of software behind it, so when you, on the web link, so you've got the software which basically takes all this into consideration. I'm assuming we're basically to have a proper link, proper software, which basically does the job for you. It's the complainant software program. Is that what we've got? I hope we have, because Otherwise it could get a little bit archaic if it's not that. That's what I was going to say. Yes, I echo what Councillor Lindy Sturt was going on regarding this confidentiality, because in a lot of ways, I'm not sure how far you are meant to go with sharing staffing issues or council issues if it's been to various elsewhere, various hearings, in our case, standards committees or through another process, part of investigations. How would you share that back? I think that needs to be looked at a little bit more. I'm also concerned about. I can understand the confidentiality at the side, but you are a smallish team, in that respect. So it is something that can be quite off-putting if you do see a complaint against yourself. But it does happen occasionally in a small organisation like the town council. I think sometimes you have to be professional about it. Have to, even if you know about it, you have to pass it on, and that's it. You don't have anything more to say. But that's always a difficult aspect to get round. And finally, I'm not sure this is not the final title, is it, of the policy, because it doesn't really say who's maybe useful, to be honest. It's not clear when if you read in there, it doesn't say who's really going to be using it. It can be anyone, basically. If it's external, internal, or whatever. It just concerns and complaints policy. That can mean anything, doesn't it? So it's too generic the title at the moment. So I hope there's enough there for you to be thinking about. It's just my own sort of observations. I hope that's quite clear. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Honeyman, for all those points. Have you got those? But is there anything you'd like to come back on, please?
Okay, so I think just to come back on a few of the things that have been said. So I've got noted down that in the policy we'll need to make it clearer that the identity of a complainant may need to be known, so we'll remove the unless you give permission for the reasons Councillor Sturton was talking about. Councillor Bristow, thank you for your offer of support. Kind of next year when we come to do the review, looking at accessibility, just ease of use, definitely take up on that, so thank you. With regards to update frequency, what we've said is we'll always aim to make sure complainants are aware of the process and the expected timescale. It will be weekly updates where the timescale isn't meeting what's within the policy. We'll just go through the policy and make sure that's really clear that is stated kind of against concerns, complaints, appeals, so it's really clear for the user. With regards to the online form that's submitted, that's done through our website. So that's all kind of automated. Once someone fills in the form, it's then captured by the back end of the website. And we'll get a notification when that's submitted, and we can then extract what we need from that. The title, yeah, very valid point there. So I think maybe we just call it Public Concerns and Complaints Policy, and that makes it clear that it's for public concerns and complaints if councillors are happy with that.
Thank you for that. Well, thank you very much. I could have noted all those down. I have Councillor Adeniji.
Thank you, Chair.
I'm so sorry, Councillor.
Mine's a very, very small alteration. It's just that I thought the timing, especially on the concerns, 3 working days, 10 working days, I thought that there may be a bit too generous or too tight offices, especially during holidays. But that's not an issue. But if we're confident that we can keep within these times, then that's fine. But I just thought the times were a bit too tight. But I do take issue with the 10 days, or 10 working days for appeal. And I thought we'd like to propose an amendment that if we were to adopt this tonight, we change it to 21 days and not 10 days. And so that would be that would be my proposal. I think that addresses some of the concerns raised as well by Mrs. Dunn. So I would like to propose that we change that to 21 days for appeal. If I get second that, we'll see. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Do you have anything you want to talk about?
I guess just to say that with the timescales, yes, I think they are quite tight, but what we were hearing from the public as well, they want to see timescales to this policy. We've kept within flex if we know that we can't do things within a certain time, and ensure that we'll communicate about that. With regards to kind of the initial pre-working day contact, we should always be able to do that because we have a big enough team and we can have cover. So what we do is we make sure if someone's off, someone else is taking on that process. But if we're coming back to review in a year, obviously we can just check those timescales, keep an eye on them, and make sure that they're realistic and not too tight that they're going to cause frustrations for everyone involved. And the other one was an amendment.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to go to Councillor Ford.
Oh, thank you. Don't need that. If I remember rightly, we had temporary or assisting. Right. All I'm saying is that 4 or 5 years ago, the staff had a whistleblowing policy in place, and it was strong enough to challenge the town clerk. So much so that the town clerk had to resign. So it shows the strength in depth we have with the residents, the staff have in place at the
sorry, there's a point of order. This is not a public discussion type of...
No, what I'm saying is the quality of the staff we have in place, which is robust enough to report on themselves. That's the point I'm making. So they don't hide anything. So if something comes in, it's strong enough to say, something's come in against member staff, and we're strong enough to report on ourselves. That's the point I'm making.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Lord. Would you like to respond to that?
I guess just to make clear, these policies, as Councillor Honeyman raised, that this is about public complaints and concerns. Obviously, we have.
But it could have been a public complaint.
And you did. We have separate policies for dealing with internal issues such as grievance policy, disciplinary procedure. So they deal with our internal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I now have Councillor DeBark.
Yes, sorry, page 42 outcome. Page 42 outcome. There's no time frame listed here, just as soon as possible. Can that have a time frame on it, please?
On the outcome. Thank you very much, outcome. Then we have Councillor Sturton. Again? Yes, we did. Sorry, and then Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for taking another intervention from me. This is a question more than anything, but we tend to assume that when it comes to matters of justice and complaints, that faster is better, and in the general sense of things, I'm sure that's true, but 10 days and 21 days both seem like fairly speedy justice to me. And so I do wonder, was the working group motivated by any kind of sense that people were aggrieved by the length of time complaints were taking because it was up to 21 working days? Or if not, where did that come from? I'm also sometimes aware that very tight time limits can have counterproductive effects, possibly make it more difficult to reach an informal resolution or something like that. So, with the chapter reverse of that, I was, but my question really is, what is the sense of injustice of the 21 days as opposed to 10?
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah, so I think to be completely honest, there wasn't a calculation behind reaching that amount of days. So I think if councillors feel that actually 21 days is too tight, that people need longer, open it up to the floor and please recommend what you think is realistic.
There's nothing in a 21-day limit that prevents you giving a decision within 10 days if this can be done administratively.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I'm going to Councillor Brooke.
Yes, Just on the targets, I mean, we're setting new targets, and I do have this labouring thought in the back of my head that we don't necessarily have the staffing resources to be able to consistently hit those. So I'm interested to see if there's a plan we can work out and reporting back on how the complaints processes are being handled, and then also working out a plan to properly resource the council to deal with them if we're consistently not hitting those targets. So I just want to make sure we're staying on them and actually monitoring, rather than just setting ourselves these round goals that we know we can't hit.
Thank you very much. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, so obviously, from a reporting back point of view, that will come through to full council meetings, part of the town clerk's update. That will ensure that we are being very mindful and checking in kind of bi-monthly, how is the complaints process going, have we got any concerns? With the kind of query around capacity, obviously we currently have a review of the staffing structure that is looking at all of our capacity for doing all of our many activities. Some of the kind of the newer activities or the newer commitments to activities are being filtered into that review process.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Meek.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering, it's been couched in the terms of if there are complaints against officers or councillors. In my experience, councillors get monitored by the monitoring officer at Lewis District Council. I've had 2 complaints against me and it's been dealt with by Lewis District Council. So shouldn't Seaford Town Council refer to our Superior Council, who has the resources and the experience of investigating councillors, because they abide by the London principle of standards in public life, and that's their reference point. So I was always going to suggest that is this not more to do with complaints against officers on our town council? And I was going to pose the question that it would seem unfair for officers to have to monitor themselves, if you like, and I would have thought that it was better, as in the case of councillors who get monitored by officers, that if there was a complaint against officers, surely it should be monitored and the decision should be made by councillors in some way, because otherwise officers could surely be accused of being prejudicial to their own fellow officers in partisan decisions. I just put this as an idea, but it seems to me if you want transparency, it might be easier to try and do it a different way. I don't know if that's fair or not.
Thank you, Councillor Meek. I think there's a response there because of the colour.
With regards to complaints against councillors, so in the overarching policy, it talks about the role of the monitoring officer. I think what's important is that this policy does provide the opportunity for people to see how you can raise concerns and complaints about the councillor, but ultimately, like you say, it's the monitoring officer that will handle those. Occasionally, we may have a role as a council where we do receive kind of rumbles and complaints, and we have to pass those on to the monitoring officer, or we have to advise the kind of the person submitting that you didn't have to submit it to the monitoring officer. But it's important it's captured within this policy. With regards to the complaints about officers, the process is the complaint will always go to the town clerk. If it's about another officer or any of your team, if it's about the town clerk, it will go to the mayor. So I think this maybe tracks back to what we were saying earlier about looking at who's monitoring those emails where the complaints are coming into, and just making sure that we're not putting ourselves up there.
Thank you very much, Georgia. I still have councillors that want to ask questions. Councillor Dubar.
Yes, the appeals 21 days suggestion by Councillor Deja is just about appeals. It's not about staff dealing with any of the other items or the time frames. It's just the appeals that we're concerned about, so that members of the public can have 21 days to appeal and not 10. If you go on holiday for 2 weeks, you've lost your chance of appeal because you're not back. So that's why I wanted to clarify that the 21 days relates solely to the appeals process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tabar. Georgia?
Yes, I think it's a second.
Yeah,
Okay.
Just to be clear then, so it's the time frame for someone wishing to submit an appeal against an outcome of a complaint will increase from 10 working days to 21 working days.
Thank you for that. Do we have any further comments? Councillor Anthony.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for giving me the indulgence to speak again. Just to clarify, an answer to Councillor Nick's suggestion, a complaint against officers is an employment issue, and with any employment issue should be dealt with by your line manager, or in this case, the proper officer of the council, which is the town clerk. So I would rather see any complaint against an officer dealt with by the proper officer of the council. When that fails, then that can come up to councillors in the complaint appeal complaints committee. So I would, that feels better, which is what this is about. And just to clarify again, what I'm proposing is to change the days for appealing. So once you've decided what to do, the resident has got 21 days and not 10 days to appeal. And that's what I hope we can support that amendment.
Thank you very much, Councillor Anthony. Do we have any other concerns? Councillor Richard Hemmingwell.
Thank you again. Now, this is a new point, so I'm not sort of just reinforcing, but sometimes it might not get very far down on some of these charts, with the time spans and everything, depending on what the... And it's basically used for the member of the public, isn't it?
Yes.
So have you got it? So basically, if it's not a true complaint, it's so lightweight, it's not really true. You do that communication back to that person who does it, and then you don't take any further, or do they keep coming back and back? Because when there's a complaint, an answer to a complaint, or whatever the situation completed, that's what I was trying to say. Is there a sort of proviso at the bottom just to say, but that's the wrong word, you know what I mean?
There's an outcome.
Yeah, once the complaint's done, that's the reply's done, that's it. They've got no further reply. Well, there are probably some situations where you don't need an appeal. I mean, it depends. I mean, what I was going to say, you don't necessarily need to have every step in certain situations. I can't see in certain situations you need an appeal. Well, that's something to think about, the wider picture.
The appeal, sorry, can I just answer this? So the appeal is driven by the complainant, not by us.
No.
So if you have a concern, you're not satisfied with it, it goes to the complaint. Once you go through the complaints process, if you're not satisfied with the outcome, then you have the opportunity to appeal. And that time frame is about how long you have to appeal once you've had the outcome to a complaint. So if you're not happy or if you're dissatisfied with that outcome, then the appeal process kicks in if you wish to appeal. If you don't wish to appeal, then it closes that complaint down. That complaint is then finished as far as the town council is concerned.
So the appeal can actually be done, I don't think it's been done unfairly, for example, or if they got more evidence. I mean, do you accept all that sort of things?
Yes, it's already done.
With the appeal, I don't know what the extent of it's going to be.
So, if anyone's unhappy with the outcome of the complaint, whether that be the process that was followed, whether that be because they don't agree with the outcome that's been found, the appeal process enables basically for a second run of considering that complaint.
Yeah, I mean, a rerun for the sake of it might be a bit, unless there's really extra information. And it's something to think about, I don't need to know the answer now. Rerun for the sake of it, you could argue you're sort of using more of your time which is not necessary. That's something to think about anyway.
Okay, thank you for that. Do we have any other comments about the complaint, concerning complaints procedure? Okay, so we have had a lot of comments. We've had a lot of amendments. The proposal is to adopt the concerns and complaints policy as presented. But at the moment, we are not comfortable with the current policy that's been presented. I've been noting some of them down. We've got about 15 points at least here. So it's not just a tweaking. I think there are quite a lot of points. Where does this leave us in terms of amending the document?
Well, I think so. We've got one amendment that's being proposed and seconded, so that amendment can be voted on. The others, just looking through my notes here, so the others are a change to the title. We've got some clarity needed around the process of monitoring emails post that, which is our kind of internal process behind the policy. We need to update to make it clear that the complainant identity may be known. It's not only with permission. Sorry, just have a quick look through. That's all I've got in terms of amendments at the moment. So I don't think anything kind of talk about.
Arrows on them.
Well, that was talked about in the next review. The arrows and the improve or enhancing the flowchart.
Okay. Councillor Rimmer,
having sat here and listened to this, I was on the task and finish group. And my suggestion is that we give this one more go at the task and finish group. Bring back an amended proposal document and discuss it again with all these suggested amendments and improvements and flowcharts. We bring it together for council on September, having had one further task and finish group to make sure that a really important new policy is in its very best condition for adoption.
are you proposing that?
Can I have that as a proposal? Anyone wants to second?
I'll second it.
We've got 2 seconds.
All done.
Okay, so first of all, we've got a proposal to adopt the concerns and complaints policy as presented, and we have a further proposal to take on all the amendments that have been suggested and those that might be for later, take the discussion back to the task and finish group and reiterate those amendments to bring us to September meeting. So I think we have to take the first proposal. I'm sorry.
So at the moment you haven't got a proposer and seconder for the matter of the report.
Yes,
Fine.
exactly.
That's what that's fine. So you've got an amendment that's been proposed and seconded.
Yes.
And we've got a proposed and seconded new motion to refer this back to the group. So what you may want to do is ask the original proposer and seconder whether they want to keep the amendment on the table, or whether they want to withdraw that potentially. If they don't, you then take those 2 votes in order that they were seconded.
That makes total sense. Okay, everyone.
We just withdraw. Thank you.
Are you withdrawing?
We'll just take it into account when you.
Thank you very much, both of you. Thank you, Councillor Sturgey and Councillor Dibble. Okay, so we're now going with the first proposal, or second.
So voting on
So you're going for your, right, okay. So I'm sorry about this, but there we are getting there. So we're now going to vote on the proposal to take on all the amendments, but to take this report back to the task and finish group to complete the amendments and to then bring the report back to September full council. So that is the proposal, and we have a proposer, which is Councillor Williams, and we had a seconder, which was Councillor Richard Honeyman. I'd now like to see how we do. So are all agreed?
All those in favour?
All those in favour of that new motion?
Ideally, everyone on this side, everyone on this side?
I think it's unanimous, isn't it?
It's not quite unanimous, Chair, so certainly ask that we should take, it was carried, but we can take the
do we have against? Do we have
abstention.
abstentions? We have an abstention. Right. Okay. Thank you, everyone, very, very much for all your input on that. Moving swiftly on to item 30. It's a lucky number. Okay. So, item 30 is to present the draft internal communications procedure for consideration. This has been prepared in very similar frame procedure, having created a task and finish group, which was actually coordinated through Isabel. Thank you, Isabel. And so I don't know if you want to just take comments at this point, whether you have anything else to say about the report. Okay, so we're going to be going for comments on the new internals communications procedure. Do you have any comments, please? Councillor DeButt.
I don't really understand where some of the information contained in here has come from. For example, the key internal communication principles. Seems to me that the whole of this is about putting constraints on how we communicate. I'm not, at the moment, I'm not enamoured with it, and I don't want to be approving this as it stands at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor DeButt. Do we have any other comments on any other parts or that part of the communications policy? Councillor Williams.
I'm going to talk to Isabel about use of words. This is page 3 and page 4. No, sorry, page 59 and 60, sorry. About what do roles mean? Because it says all roles within the council will commit. Now I thought that meant all officers and councillors. And then it talks, 1.8, to have trust in the town council's employees. So who are you asking to have trust? And then in section 2 you have roles and relationships. So I was kind of stumbling over what these words actually meant when I was reading the policy. If you could clarify, I'd be great.
Well, yes, where I've said roles, that is roles and roles within the town council, that is both officers and town councillors. I'm more than happy to make that more clear within that. And then obviously, roles and relationships, this is the next section. We've got to talk about those, but I'm not sure what further to say. Shall I just go back about the key principles?
Yes, if you like to.
Yes, the key principles came from the discussions that the task and finish group had and are throughout the procedure. So they've just been sort of put into the first section just to make it really clear, and then they're weaved throughout the procedure. So they came from the procedure itself.
Okay, Councillor DeButt, would you like to say anything more about your...
No, I've already said that I don't like it. I think it's overly constraining. It's not good use of councillor time. It talks about making good use of officer time. But, you know, equally we need to be concerned about councillor time. We need to be able to communicate with officers in a direct manner. I don't think this allows it. I think more or less the same. You won't do this and you won't do that. I don't like it. I don't like what it says.
Okay, thank you for your feedback. Do we have any other feedback, please? Right, Councillor Sturton and Councillor Henry.
This will be a brief one. I hear Madam Deputy Mayor's concerns about section 1.8, and I wonder if a possible fix would be to express the matter in terms of to work to promote trust in the town's council employees, etc., and to balance that with 1.8 bis, if I could put it that way, that would be similarly expressed towards councillors, and that would meet the objections, I wonder.
Okay, Councillor Wimmer, do you want to say anything about that, given the people point up?
Yeah, I take your point, thank you, Councillor. I think I like some sort of wording about mutual respect and trust. It's a two-way process. And having something that's supposed to apply to officers and councillors, but makes it very clear it's expecting councillors how they treat officers when it should be mutual. That's how we get things done. That's how we make decisions. And I think our recent role that hasn't finished for it has shown that when you've got a mutual interest, you have a level of expertise and knowledge and motivation to get something changed and improved, then that mutual respect and trust grows and it brings about advantages. So I think it has to be mutual. It can't just be one side being told what to do by another side. It has to be mutual, and it is a dynamic process on both sides. So I would like to see something about mutual trust and respect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Honeyman and Councillor.
Thank you again. Yes, I was looking at that as policy, internal communicators generally, but I'm sure staff have a set standard of what they're going to do use of emails anyway. I'm sure they have that as part of our own policy. And in a lot of ways, this is, well, you expect most of our communication probably is going to be by emails from councillors anyway, back to the officers at town council. So I always wondered if they're really, this is almost a halfway to actually trying to do an email policy in a way, and how you use email. I mean, a lot of us, in our older capacity and privately as well, I've literally sent thousands of emails in my lifetime. I really have, I know that from my various responsibilities. But is there a set way you want an email to be done and what you expect? I don't really think that's necessarily been clarified even since I've been a councillor from 2015, but I just don't know if that's really the approach of this document and why they're getting it. So there we are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Honeyman. Now I've got Councillor Matthews. Thank you.
Can you all hear me if I use this now? Alright, so, yeah, I had the same kind of thoughts really as Councillor Dumas on this policy. I was a little bit worried about the tone of it actually. That's more than how it's written, it's actually where's it coming from. So it kind of sounds quite condescending towards councillors. It sounds as if there's a tone of what's like paranoia, and that kind of got me worried about how this came about. So I think I'm quite happy to talk to officers about that. I'm sure it's not the case, but if it is, then I really hope there's some discussions around where this came from and what it's all out of. So I think, in terms of just checking out the workload of the town council, considering how to roles, I'm pretty sure most of the councillors do understand that what really is in your working hard. You don't actually have to spell it out, I don't think, but that's just one example I wanted to give. But a lot of us also work in professional jobs, and we have to abide by rules within our certainly, yeah, I don't think I wouldn't come to something like this in my workplace. So, quite, yeah. I'd be quite worried if I did, because I'll be pushing back on it quite a lot.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Matthews. We have Councillor Bristow and then Councillor Rowe. And Councillor Adeligi, did you? Okay, yeah, go for it. Sorry, I did have you down.
Sorry, I do have childcare issues, so I have to take a course. I totally agree with Councillor Matthews and Councillor Dubath. I just felt this one, this is a very I don't quite understand why we need this document, and I think this will be a communications overload. We are already part of the civility and respect. And every councillor around this table signed up to the pledge, so we do understand. So we do understand the need to be civil in our correspondence. So I think some of the issues that I take umbrage with, for example, paragraph 6 means now I can't make any suggestion to the officer. I have to go to the chair of the committee. This afternoon, actually, someone came to me about solar composting bin. And in the old days, you could just talk to the town clerk and say, I've got this idea, what do you want to do about it? But according to this document, that's not allowed. I have to go to the chair and send an email. And that, I just find that very strange. I find that very strange that councillors are being told you will not allowed, except you belong to a committee, to have any access to any of the papers. I just think this is, with due respect, quite a very heavy approach. And we should be working together. And I just felt this isn't the way I would like to see communications being done in the town council. I certainly cannot support this document as it stands. Just one minor point on the 12 key communication principles. I don't like people replying to all. When people reply to an email and they just reply to all to say, yes, I will attend the meeting. So actually, the things that actually matters most, like using BCC, again, that's been trivialized to 1.7. It's actually quite important when you reply to actually to understand how to reply to everyone. So overall, I cannot support this document, and I would like to send it back to sender.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Adeligi. Next up, we have Councillor Bristow.
Hi. Thank you. I'm just going to bring up perhaps a few things which I don't think have been said before. Upon reading this, it was clear that actually the suggestion, really, the material suggestion, is to route through a single point of contact, being the councillor questions at email address, and from there it would be caught and triaged, which, to my memory, is pretty much the same format as what we had suggested in fact when we first came into office at the beginning of the administration. And whilst that may have been appropriate then, I question what may have changed in terms of staff resourcing that would make that viable now. What I really hope to see with this is a document which makes it easier for everybody, that was helpful for everybody, to set out a clear route map by which people would know where to go and so on. And I think, part of it I completely appreciate from the officer's point of view is, you don't want to be getting 20 emails about the same thing, and having sort of email overload. I won't go into my own working life, but I'm sure a lot of us suffer from that in other spheres. So something that I found very effective and that I was hoping to have seen here, because I've noticed that we had, that officers had set up, for example, the projects and facilities at inbox, or we've got the admin at inbox, so on, would be just a simple flowchart, sort of saying, is this thing very urgent? Have we got, a biohazard on our hands, in which case probably a phone call and an email is appropriate? Is it not so urgent, a sort of general query, or is it pertaining to something you're already in contact with someone about? Is it to do with our assets and facilities? Perhaps direct it to that mailbox where several officers have access and can pick up and between themselves can assign it and sort out how, that's for you guys to sort out how you work. But for councillors, or is it a financial thing, in which case perhaps it should go to Finance Act. So for me, there's nothing in here which tells or gives people a steer about the urgency of a matter and how to approach that. It also doesn't talk about meetings, internal meetings. Somebody else, forgive me, I can't remember who, talked about document sharing and so on. I'm not sure we're all actually using Teams and SharePoint within the office, and councillors, those of us who have done, found it a very good way of accessing information and documents that we need to, for example, in the working group. And as for copying in, again, it's, anyone who's had an email from me recently, I tend to say why I'm copying people in, but for those of us who, for example, we've got 3 town councillors, ward councillors for Seaford South, and here it's telling us it should be a one-to-one and don't copy anyone else in. To me, that gives no redundancy in the process. It also gives no sight to the other ward councillors about what's going on. I like to work in an open and collaborative and team manner. Councillor Buchanan and I work with climate change stuff very much in tandem. We're both going to meetings, we're both doing things so that A, it gives us a better outcome in the end, but B, if one of us goes off ill or something, the other one is up to speed and can pick things up, very quickly and just carry on. So, for me, I don't feel like that's a very modern way of working. And perhaps it's something that needs further reflection and discussion about how we can best work together to achieve our goals without suffering from overload.
Thank you very much, Councillor Christer. Do we have further, Councillor?
Yeah, just a brief one, just to say, I do wonder whether we could be using just a best practice document or guidance rather than a full-blown policy on internal communications, and that could be maybe resolved outside that full council meeting so that we can use our own indicator for delivery of the town, focusing on practices outside of the council itself.
Thank you very much, Councillor Burrow. Any further? Yes, Councillor Gisbard?
Forgot to mention it. When I first started as council, I asked you, Isabel, if we were going to be using SharePoint to share documents, and you said it was something you were working on. I hadn't seen that 15 months on. I just wondered where that was in terms of progress, so that we are allowed to share documents within councillors, so we've got access to all. Thank you.
Thanks for that question. Do you want to respond to that question?
Yeah, it's I'm great because
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. Do we have any other comments from anyone that hasn't spoken before? Any other comments on the document?
Sorry, I haven't begun to work on that at the moment, so it's no further knowledge.
Okay, that's the response. Councillor Bristow, do you have something else to say? No? Okay. No one else? Right, we're going to bring this to a conclusion.
I think it's been
I'll turn this off. Oh, that's worked. That's been a really positive discussion, and I really thank the councillors for their honesty. I would point out that this document was produced by a task force group with 5 councillors within it, so it isn't an officer document, it's a joint document being presented. And I don't know if we've got actually 6 councillors. So I don't know if any of those councillors have any views on what's being said this evening. But within, or whether, I guess, Chair, what we need to try and determine is we're hearing some people, I think we're hearing some feedback which basically says, we don't want this at all. And we're hearing some people say, well, we'd like it amended. Now, as with the previous agenda item, it was really clear that there was some amendments to make, and then the council would probably feel ready to adopt it, hence the motion was just passed.
Yeah.
But in terms of trying to determine a motion to pass at this point, I'm wondering whether we're trying to find whether the councillors are wishing the group to do more work, or whether the councillors are wishing the group to stop. Does that make sense?
Okay, thank you very much. No, that's fine. Councillor Ashton.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so I'm proposing that we do not adopt this document, and we basically we do not adopt this document in its current form. It could well be maybe we could find an amendment that says we could adopt council's oral suggestion of this form of informal. So there is a need for communication document, but it's not this in its current form. So if we could get a proposal, a second that I'm proposing that we do not adopt this document in its current form.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, so we have a proposal and the seconder to say that we are not going to adopt the report and the document in its current form. So I'm going to ask you.
Okay, I think that's not the episode, Chair.
Just a quick one then, if we don't adopt it, and I can understand why, what would then be the next steps in order to get the procedure?
Yeah. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, I'd like to propose a motion similar to what we adopted in respect of the complaint policy to invite the task and finish group to reflect, to invite the task and finish group to reflect on the discussion today and bring about an amended proposal back to the next meeting. I, for one, like the direction of this document. I can understand some of the concerns and need to get the messaging just right, but I would like to see it given another chance.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor.
I'm not particularly keen on seeing this come back to full council myself. Like I said, I'd like to see full council then put into action delivery. So I would suggest a not short document going to finance for general purposes, where the meetings are generally not shorter. I think a bit more time to look at it will be.
So it didn't quite yet, so you suggest.
So I suggested that instead of coming back to full council, we go to finance for general purposes.
Right, so we have a proposal on the table at the moment. We have two proposals on the table. One is...
Yes. Right, that's it, right. So is this a policy or is this a procedure?
The moment it's
a procedure, but could it be a policy?
It's a procedure.
Yeah, but could it be a policy? Policies have to come out of full council, so you know, and if it's going to be part of the wider group of policies doing communication, then there should be a policy, shouldn't it, not a procedure. So can we have clarification of that before we go any further with this?
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that?
Yeah, I mean, it's...
I mean, it's a big question. If it's a procedure, it can go to efforts.
What's in your mind, Councillor, when asking that question? Do you have an expectation of something different?
I'm actually on the task to finish group, and I'm thinking in a way that if we do reconvene it, I think we'd have to, because the time constraints everything, I like the adoption that as the assistant town clerk is the chair, the officer who facilitates planning and trying to start planning again. But all that can be not legal. But I mean, there's only so many times we can meet. We've got that thing to think about as well, if we do reconvene. So I just think of the fact as well. I can see where councillor always coming from as well, you know. Does it need to be a full policy as part of a suite of these policies, or could it be a procedure, or could it be part of an email policy? Could it be, you know, is it a set of policies specifically for the councillors, or really are the policies for staff use as well? I mean, there's quite a lot of range of communication things to be consideration. But I can see where council always come from as well, so I'm not trying to, you know, that's why I'm coming to audits.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bowman.
Yeah, thank you,
Chair. I'd like to second Councillor Sturton's proposal. I'd also like to, when we go back to the task and finish group, also consider Councillor Horrow's idea as well in that discussion of that group to bring something back.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
I'd like to ask a question, which is if it goes to F&GP, are we suggesting that full council delegates authority to F&GP to approve the whole thing? Or is it F&GP does a first check through and then it comes back to full council for approval?
I think I quite like to speak actually about this. I am the task and finish group. I think one of the issues about this particular procedure, because it's been named procedure, is that it's part of the communications policy, but it is literally one chapter because it is the internal communications policy. There are other communications policies we will be considering throughout the year that would have come as chapters almost of the wider communication policy. We have to consider our website, we have to consider social media, we may consider email etiquette, which could be both for external and internal emails. We need to think about, so there's a whole other list, raft, if you like, of communications that we wanted to discuss and give attention to. When we first met and we were thinking about this as part of a wider communications policy, we named it a procedure because we didn't want to name it a chapter. I think that's kind of where the discussion went in the first iteration. I would suggest that there is the potential for taking the procedure to F&GP because it's part of the wider policy, but the full policy, once task and finish groups have looked at each procedure relating to those, would have to come back at the end to full council, by which time it would have been probably seen by most of you, because there is a potential for other people to join task and finish groups for the other chapters or procedures, because we all have different skills. So the first iteration was the internal communication, the second could be external or the website, and we know that we have skills around the group that would be able to contribute to that. And that's my understanding of it. That might be changed by others who are on the group with me, but that was my preliminary understanding of how we were proceeding. Councillor Bristow.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At this point I wanted to bring back an idea which I think was floated when we first discussed this. Someone will tell me which meeting it was in. And that is, since, there's obviously been a lot of effort from councillors and officers gone into this, and, perhaps regrettably it hasn't got the traction that we perhaps hoped for. There was an idea to actually bring in somebody with a professional comms background, somebody who really understands how to engage with all the people around the table, who's got proper experience of devising comms policies and adapting them for various organisations. And I just wonder, given that this is, in your words, the first chapter of many, whether that would actually be a cost-effective and time-effective way to go down. Perhaps it's time to pivot just now down that path. And the task and finish group can still, they can still be an advisory capacity, but actually to get somebody who does this as their bread and butter, who's got experience, to come in and give us a hand. Because if we're looking at things like websites, social media, all that digital marketing, digital communications, and so on, we do all have a lot of great skills. But none of us do that full-time all the time, every time, applying to different organisations. And I just feel like if it's something we really want to get right for Seaford and for us to be able to engage with our community better and represent our community better, then perhaps it might be money well spent.
Thank you, Councillor Bristow.
Sorry for you, Chair. Just so that's heard loud and clear, and there are plans in the works, Councillor Bristow, for asking councillors to agree external support for parts of the communications policy that the Mayor's been describing. So we hear you.
Thank you very much, Town Clerk. We weren't aware of that. Okay, so we now have any other comments on this communications procedure, internal communications procedure?
Councillor Sturton's question hasn't been addressed.
Sorry.
Through you, Chair, I can answer that.
Yes, please do, sorry.
Only full council can approve policy documents. So if this was something that FMGP was going to be asked to agree, it could be a procedure, it could be a guidance, but it couldn't be an actual policy document. It would have to come back through full council.
So, following up on that then, if it has to be a policy document, then I would prefer to keep F&GP's time for something else, rather than working group, F&GP, full council. Let's cut out the middleman, just get it working group, make full council. Yeah, there's no point in repeating work.
Okay, thank you. Now we're clear of the chair of F&GP. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this has been a really good. I don't really need it. This has been a really good project to do. And I think it's been really good that we've done the task and finish group. Like everything, it's there to be tweaked, which is why we're here to talk and discuss it. So I think it would be good if we go back to the task and finish group and take on what everyone's comments have been made and go back to do the task and finish group and then bring it back to September as well. But you know, a lot of work's gone into this. It was needed and it's been a long time in to be done, because I know Isabel's been trying to do this for I think Isabel's been trying to do this for a couple of years. So I think it's good that we've got it to this stage and then we just need to do some tweaking, make any amendments that need amending, and then just go with the amendments to go back to task and finish.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Honeyman. We are now at the point where we really need to consider our proposals that are on the table so far. So, Councillor Honeyman's made a proposal, but it was already supporting previous proposal. Can't remember who it was.
So we've had two motions that have been proposed. Originally from Councillor Leach and Councillor Dubois to say please cease. And then the one from Councillor Sturton again seconded, which was to ask the task ministry to do some more work based on the discussion tonight. So I think we'll take them in. Councillor, sorry, Chair, I think
I will reluctantly withdraw my motion. I still don't think there's a need for the document, and I will support it, but I have decided to withdraw my document.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's fair, Chair, just quickly, sorry, for you to say that obviously members of Task and Finish Group have heard the discussion this evening, and I think they will be mindful in they will need to be mindful in the discussions about whether they will bring something back based upon the feedback we've had tonight. So part of their evening has to be to make sure that we've got something to bring back as well. So not to ask you to have to repeat your rejection, if that makes sense.
I do have, to come back again, many things have to change. Things about councillors not being allowed to talk to councillors not seeing documents. And those are my fundamental objections, that there has to be fundamental change in these documents.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, President.
Yeah, I actually heard the town clerk in response to I'm going to make an official proposal, but we actually get someone to project manage this comms work completely automatically, someone who is properly experienced and professionally qualified to do it. Because I think, getting someone in for bits and pieces, okay. I've done comms revamps for previous organisations and so on, and actually having someone tracking through the whole thing with everybody, I think can be really invaluable. So I'm going to put a proposal that we take this down, we stand this down, and we actually get someone in to do all the chapters with us.
Do we have a seconder for that proposal?
There's a costings case for this before we make a decision. We need full resource allocation. You can't just do this on the cuff, get extra staff involved. at least the cost before we can vote on it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Holland, Councillor Matthews.
Sorry, say that again.
Did you read putting your hand up or something?
No, I was going to second
Oh, right.
Bristow's suggestion.
Okay.
Maybe we could almost as after the new to consider that. As part of their discussions, and then they were asked to bring their costing proposals. Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah.
There's routes for delegated power from spending, so it could be that the spending could be in consultation with certain, chairs, or the task and finish group, for example. But it's about time scales, I need to wait till September, but potentially then starting the next stage.
Yes, I hear you loud and clear, Georgia. Do we have any, should we then be asking this meeting to do that then?
Sorry, we can't hear anything.
Okay, so, sorry, Town Clerk. So there is a discussion going on at the top table that's saying, do we ask the Task and Finish Group to consider the previous proposal that's been put forward by Councillor Bristow and Councillor Matthews, seconded, which is to get an external consultant in to overview the whole of the communications policy. The issue then being, this will mean that it will be put back, so there's cost, but also who makes that decision. So do we step down now? Do we take that to Task and Finish to discuss? Do we ask officers to produce that as a proposal, as a paper, as a report for the September Council? Do we finish, do we stop what we're doing? I think that is a concern. I'm on the Task and Finish group. Taking my chair hat off, I would say I would be slightly concerned about that, because it would probably mean that we would get none of this done then until we got our consultant, we stop. And one of the issues about bringing the internal communications procedure to this meeting was that we wanted to clarify it. We haven't done a great job of doing that, clearly, but having said that, we have something. I do think we've heard a lot about the amendments and the approach that's required to change. I personally think the Task and Finish group have the capacity to at least write this first section of the policy. I also recognise that there are other technical kind of skills that would be required to probably get the rest of it moving. So I think perhaps I would favour going back to the Task and Finish group to discuss it first. For me. Oh, member of the public, you can't talk.
No, I just wanted to make an observation.
It's all right, you couldn't hear.
So I couldn't hear, sorry.
Yes, you couldn't hear what you said. So, Councillor Bristow, sorry.
I was just going to make the observation that although it would take some time to get an external in, once they are in, they've then got their own time trap, and although they would obviously need to liaise with officers and councillors, it may then be faster following that. And yes, I understand, that we want to improve from where we are now, but there's nothing, whilst it may not be set in stone, there's nothing stopping us taking on board some of the points raised tonight and aspiring and trying to, start to work to better our communications from days in, from tomorrow, which is something despite this not having had the reception that perhaps we'd all hoped, that we can take parts from it and start to modify what we're doing.
Okay, Councillor Stern.
It seems what I've heard is that everybody wants the Task and Finish group to have another look and have a proper cut it out and start again. And to look at the possibility of an external consultant to oversee the entire thing. If we were to get an external consultant, they would need a brief, they would need a project proposal, they would need clear direction on what we wanted. And we've got a group of councillors and officers who are interested in communications, so the Task and Finish group could look at the brief and
about whether this is actually a chapter that is needed, but perhaps a bigger focus on the long-term project and writing the preparatory documents for an external consultant.
Thank you, Councillor Stern. Councillor Hannigan.
Oh, I think it's easier. Thank you very much. Just following on what Councillor Bristow and Councillor Brewster have said, it's quite interesting this, because you can get an external consultant and you can easily get the wrong one, of course. They haven't worked in town councils, for example. There could be another local authority, there could be a health service specialist or something, and do some comms there, which that's a big issue in its own right. That's such a complex organisation. But you've got to be ever so careful which if you give the external consultant a brief, isn't it not going to be the other way around, really? I mean, in a lot of ways, if you're paying someone £100 an hour, which you could easily do, couldn't you, with a consultant, you really want to make sure you get your bucks worth, don't you? Or maybe pounds in this country. But you see what I mean? I'm not being facetious. I think you've got to be quite careful which way you do go, because at the end of the day, this communication, the one-hour communication brief, it is for the whole council, all types of communication everywhere, isn't it? When it comes down to the expectations, what council should do anyway, and what you should expect the staff to do. So all in all, there's so many issues to think about. And it can get very highly complex. But I do take Councillor's point in one sense. I think at some stage you might want some really good stuff, but maybe we're not quite there yet. I don't know how if you could do some initial costings before the next meeting, or for the TNF to have a look at, just the initial bits to see if you think of all the different aspects might come up, so we know what sort of budgets we're looking at. Does that help at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Not following dates, it's just on my own thinking.
That's okay.
Thank you.
That's okay. So, Councillor Duval.
I'm mindful of spending public money on something that's perhaps not quite so necessary. If we had a simple communication policy that stripped all this out and said just the basic nitty-gritty of what you were trying to achieve in the first place, rather than all this wordy stuff, I think the task and finish group is probably more than qualified to do that.
Yeah.
So if they can take out everything that we've said and change it fundamentally, not just tweaks. Some people have said tweak it. No, don't tweak it. It needs to change fundamentally. And you just come up with them. You do this, you do that. Make it very, very simple. Don't restrict people. Just make it easier for people. That we can talk to each other simply, easily. Then we could have something that's not going to cost the public. Well, let's not have this lengthy document that's tying our hands behind our back and overcomplicates what is a simple procedure of talking to each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
Okay. Just one final comment, please, Chair.
Oh, yes.
I absolutely agree that the worst thing to do is to get consultants involved, and I'll tell you for why. I work in local government, so we've got consultants involved in various bits and pieces. I don't do the copy and paste what they've done somewhere else. I mean, a document on stock condition survey properties. The last 3 or 4 pages it said Barking and Dagenham. Oh, well done. They charge you 10,000 quid for a document, they copied and pasted somewhere else, and give the document. And the energy and enthusiasm of the officers in the workplace could produce a far better quality document, more in depth. And I think there's enough strength in depth.
I don't think this is relevant. This is, good fact case studies. I could give you a confidential case study.
No, part instead of get a consultant involved and say there's more strength and depth in this in a council than there is involved in a consultant who's going to cost us lots of money. Exactly what we don't want to do.
Okay, I'm going to try and draw this to a close now, because time is running on. We have had many, many ideas We've had at least 3 different proposals. And we kind of have ended up, I think, that's where we we've ended up with the fact that we've acknowledged that there is a task and finish group. And it feels to me as though we need to give the task and finish group just one more churn of looking through this information and bringing back to that group the changes that are expected from this procedure, remembering this is a procedure and not the whole thing. And we need to reflect, possibly within that task and finish group, not only the changes we wanted from this procedure, but to understand and recognise the breadth and depth of the whole policy, and to ask ourselves if we think we do, within the council officers and councillors, have the skills and the capabilities to write the rest of that policy. And I think we need to list that and think about that. I do think we need to have a proper discussion, and to be fair, we haven't. We've jumped straight in onto the internal comms part. That's what that task and finish group was doing. I'm very happy to make that a proposal for the task and finish group. I do think that there needs to be some come back to another meeting. It will have to be September to say where the task and finish group have got to with their idea, but there needs to be some form of line drawn under it and a decision. So they either bring back a renewed procedure that they're happy with, or they come back with a proposal with costings or another idea that they might come up with, because they'll have time to think about it, as to how to proceed with the whole communications policy, because it is still sitting in front of us. So I'll make that proposal and see if anybody seconds that.
I think that was similar.
It was very similar to that. But
can I ask a point of clarification? You've been using the word or a lot there, whereas I thought we were going to be using the word and. So the task and finish group would consider that and bring back costings from alternative in September. Because it shouldn't be up to the task and finish group to make that decision for the full council.
So within the proposal that comes back, there would be costings, and there would also be something that maybe.
And I think there needs to be a work plan for the rest of the project, because
yes, it does. I absolutely accept that. I absolutely accept that. So we have a proposal on the table. We have a seconder for that proposal.
So should we say what we think? Should we say what the motion is?
Should we write that down for you now? Yeah. 1 second.
So, I think how I've understood it is it's a proposal to refer back to the task and finish group to reconsider internal communications based upon discussion at this meeting, presenting options available with the revised document and options for external consultancy involvement back to September full council.
Are you happy with that version? As it was originally your proposal that we discussed? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have a proposal, we have a seconder.
What was that? All in favour of that motion, please show if you are in favour. Okay, that's going to be carried, but we haven't got everyone's hands up yet.
Those disagree?
All those against that motion? Abstentions to the motion?
Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, so we are now on to our final item of the evening. Sorry,
I'm just thinking that they are public meetings. Better not using the mic, because mine's struggling to hear the camera.
No, it's all right. I think if I banged it,
Not just yours, but everybody's actually.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. purpose of the report, to present the recommendation from Finance and General Purposes Committee to adopt the revised standing orders policy document. Okay, Georgia. So, can you pass the mic through?
Thank you. So, as the Mayor pointed out, so this is the annual review of the standing orders document. This has actually already been through the Finance and General Purposes Committee. They had a big discussion on the policy document. There are a few amendments made by the committee that are now reflected in the document presented tonight. We have had some useful feedback from some members of the public and councillors, and there's a few further amendments that have been circulated to councillors, and you've also got a copy on the table of those further amendments that, as officers, we want to recommend that we make to the document. Other than that, I think all of the information is there in the report, so very happy to take any questions on the standing orders.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any comments? Councillor Richard Hanman.
You've got a microphone, please. Thank you, everyone. Yes, I'm not actually happy with the document. I think it's appallingly presented with the changes. So many hours lines going through. There's not. What I want to see is a final document with no estimates. You know what I mean? I think it's quite acceptable seeing what we're seeing. I believe we only had 10 minutes at FGP. Again, it's not, obviously it wasn't really discussed in a very wide manner. I'm disappointed. What I'm also disappointed by is the extra information. Stuff away from the statutory side of things. You know, there's a few things that crept in there. I didn't like what's happened when obviously the use of, I'm sure Councillor Lord didn't mean it, about use of mobile phones and mobile laptops in this meeting. This should be in there, couldn't it? It could be a wider constitution as opposed to just standing order. We could widen it out and really fit what we really wanted in this particular document. There's a lot of stuff, some stuff creeps in, mentioning monitoring officers and various other stuff comes out. So is it not a good opportunity to look at the wider picture of what should really go in this particular document? Because at the moment I'm not really happy about it, to be honest. Very, very disappointed actually. I mean, if I'm being fair. I thought the idea of FGP was to have a full discussion and not just 10 minutes and then everyone's happy. So I don't know who was chairing that particular meeting, not officer-wise, but I'm okay. But it's the explanation. I don't know if people know the rationale behind it, but I'm obviously quite unhappy about it, put it that way. Thank you.
Okay, hang on a minute. So, Councillor, do you want to respond to that before we go to... Okay.
So, just to say, obviously, sorry to hear that you are feeling frustrated by what we've presented to you. Certainly the request to have a clean version of policies, 100% we can make sure that we do that going forward, so you can read the policy document as it would be adopted without all of the track changes. We can make sure to do that moving forwards. With regards to the level of discussion at F&GP committee, unfortunately that's not something that officers have any control over, so I would look maybe to the members of the committee around the room who were obviously in that meeting. As an officer, I felt that there was a good level of discussion, so maybe it wasn't the longest discussion, but all of the points raised were really useful. As being shown in the version that's presented tonight, there were some track changes coming out of it. So it was a useful discussion, but I'll leave that for any other councillors that may want to come in. The questions around kind of the wider use of the document, that's quite a tricky one, because obviously this is based on a national model standing orders document, and as you acknowledged kind of at the start of the statement, there's already bits that we've added in as a town council to tailor it to our needs, to our purposes. In 2021, the town council did a a very thorough review of standing orders. They stripped it back to model. It was in fact a councillor working group that I think met a few times to do this, and they added back in sections that they felt they needed at Seaford Town Council. What we've done is just, with this year's review, is we've learned over the last year some bits that needed to be added, some bits that need to be clarified, and that's what we're now presenting with you.
Okay, I'm going to go. Actually, Councillor Duval, put my hand up first, so sorry. Are you happy? Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Duval. Councillor Stern.
So as the chair of the FGP committee and at the meeting where we discussed the standing orders, I think it's an unfair characterisation to say that we had an inadequate discussion. We had the papers sufficiently far in advance that every single member of FGP had read the standing orders, questions were raised, discussion was had, points of clarification were requested, and those amendments have been added to these documents. I think the members of FGP are pretty competent people and understood all the issues that came across in this revised. And it was a unanimous decision to recommend that full council adopted these standing orders. So any suggestion that FGP only had 10 minutes is unfair and inaccurate. Not a question.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stern. Councillor Duval, oh, you've got one slide,
I was on the committee and we did discuss it, and I was happy with it at the time, but I subsequently looked at it again, and I've got some issues with it in that NOC approved the standing orders in 22, so why are we looking at, they haven't updated them since 22, why are we spending time looking at this when one of the things that is constantly being said is that officers have got not enough time on their hands to do stuff, so why are we looking at things unnecessarily? Whether or not change is 2.4 red text, blue text. Unfortunately, I don't see red text, blue text, so I don't know which people are recommending what. So, other policies hang on the back of this, and I didn't sort of think about it at the time, but now I realise that we shouldn't really be adopting this until all the other policies that hang off it have been updated. So my recommendation would be that we don't approve it at this time and we delay it until all the policies that are affected by this are updated. Thank you.
Just to say, thank you, Councillor, I'll be here all this month. Just to say, in my mind, the rationale for bringing this standing order review to this meeting via FGP was standing orders are a critical policy that affects every single thing that we do. And with the greatest of respect, I have sat in meetings where some councils have not followed the standing orders, and so we needed to make sure, it's only being fair to you, all you as councillors, to make sure that you are fully aware of all the standing orders, what they say, and the best way to do that is to ask you to review them. And that's why the custom and practice of the Town Council has been to review them annually. And especially this annually, because again, the timing of this is quite deliberate. We are 1 year into the administration, you've all been councillors for a year, you've had a year's experience now, so this is bringing a year's experience to the standing orders to see that you check, you can understand and follow the law, because you have to do that, but at the same time seeing what amendments you wish to make to them to help us go forward. It could be in future years council don't wish to review every year, but that's the reason why this report is coming to this meeting now. Thank you.
Councillor Hurren first. Councillor Henning and Councillor Stern.
I think it's a reasonable set of standing orders, and they are reviewed annually, so if there are issues that can be looked at over the year. But as they are, I think they're reasonable standing orders for our town council, and I'm happy to support them.
Councillor Stern.
say annual review of standing orders is widely carried out practice amongst town councils and councils at this level. So we're not doing anything significantly different from our peers in this respect, reviewing our minutes. It's not unnecessary work.
Okay, sorry, Councillor.
Thank you. What I did was I went through in blue crayon actually, because when you go on the town council website, you could actually see the difference between blue and red, but I didn't find much red. What I wanted to speak about is on page 80, which was about number D, and I may have the wrong section here, but it was just about the fact that it says it is minimum of 3 clear days notice of committee or subcommittee, and then also public notice. I just want to know where is it part in there, because one thing we've been talking about a lot is that we don't get the agendas early enough. So I wanted to check, before we go, oh yes, this is possibly fine, that we actually really need at least 5 clear days that we get the agenda, not 3. But I wasn't quite sure exactly whether that's in that section or that's a different section, where we can please can we have the agendas more in advance than what we're getting them. Because we're generally, I think if we've made this quite clear before, there's a lot more councillors working full-time or very, very busy. As I get reminded, just because you're retired, it doesn't mean you're not busy. So please can we have it somewhere in here that we do get more than, and that's, because it's not in the block capitals mean legal, but we do need more, the agendas more in advance, please.
Thank you, your point is taken. Do we have any other comments? Councillor Lee.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just not quite understanding something. Page 81, it's J. What, is that being struck through because it's no longer relevant, or is it because it's written somewhere else? Because that is the procedure that we've always followed. I'm confused as to why some of these things are struck through.
Yes, please. That's all I was reading.
Yes, so that has been moved up to section 1, which is kind of the section talking about the process within a meeting. So yeah, that's not been removed, it's just moved.
Oh.
The other question around time that agendas are issued in advance, that's actually something that's covered within the agendas and minutes policy. We did have a bit of a discussion at FGP on this. We talked about the fact that standing orders state legal minimum, which is the 3 clear working days. The town council's agendas and minutes policy commits to striving to give councillors longer than this, and where we can. We talked about the fact that we still work to the aim of 2 clear weekends. Now, unfortunately for this administration, we haven't really managed to achieve that in the last 15 months. What I said in FGP is, I've not yet lost hope of being able to achieve that. Mentioned earlier the staffing structure review, that's going to be a big part of enabling us to get documents out further in advance to councillors, but definitely to answer your question, Councillor, it's the agenda and minutes policy that sets that out.
Okay, thank you very much for that explanation. Do we have any other comments at all on the standing orders? I'd like to say something. I want to thank Georgia for her work on this. I did have, and I do have some reservations about the document. I've heard what everybody's been saying. I do see it as a bit of an overarching, very important document, that's for sure. I guess I'm being swayed by the fact that it is reviewed every year, and as we are working through the new policies, not all of which are line with standing orders, but some of them are there. My only concern will be that the standing order that we currently have doesn't constrain us to be a little bit creative about what we want to do with reviewing other policies. Because if the review of other policies that relate to things in the standing orders actually mean that we would have to change the standing order perhaps next year, and as long as that can be done, that kind of feels like the flexibility is there. So I don't want to be driven by something that perhaps not all of us have been able to look at in detail in terms of other policies that are going to go forward and be reviewed. But I do think, going back to the 3-day, I'm absolutely in the same heart and mind as Councillor Honeyman. But I will say that even though there's been a constraint on this, we have actually started to see certain reports come to us earlier. So we have been talking with Georgia and Isabel about, and others about policies that are coming forward or papers that are coming forward to Council. And one of the things we have been saying is, if it's ready and it can come prior to that, send it out, because that gives us longer. So even if we get the bulk of the agenda on the shortened version, but we've had others and we've had time to look, then at least it's a step forward in the right direction. And I totally get the fact that to send all of it out 5 days before is at the moment pretty difficult. But if there is some flexibility there, and there are some things that can just come, that would be helpful. Councillor Matthews.
There's just some feedback really, I guess. In the like complaints policy, there's some trouble that works on into it, or falls on into it. We have sweat as well. But I think for me, it's really hard for me to find the time to read such large documents, especially as for the track changes. So I think I might need to go through this type from my point of view, because I'm not sure what I'm reading is going to remain in document or not. I think this be, what we see is what we get.
Thank you, that's been covered. Thank you very much. Other Councillor Bristow and then Councillor Richard.
Just going to say really quickly, because I know it's come up twice about track changes. Everyone's got their own personal preference. Mine is actually to see the track changes, and I'm used to working with them, and I like to see what's changed. So I don't know if there's a way we can accommodate people on both sides of the fence with track changes, because I do think it's useful, but then obviously other people like to just see the clean version.
Okay, I'm sure that's going to be heard by officers. Okay, Richard, Councillor Richard Henman.
Okay, I'll let you like I'll do it now. I don't think George likes me at the moment, and also there's Councillor Stone either.
Yeah, I think so, is that,
I mean, basically nothing's really been disappeared off since last time. It's sort of been redid, retried certain things. I can't see there's nothing major which has basically happened. I mean, maybe for 25 you could try and make it a bit more presentable. I don't know if you're happy with the actual format of it. I don't know if that's something. It's been that sort of format for a little while. I know it has. Maybe that could be looked at for 25, 26. Just if you've got some other ideas to make it a little bit more. I know as a lot of it goes back to 72 Government Act anyway, as you know. I mean, the legislation there is quite old-fashioned anyway. So, I mean, that's what we still have to include, as you know, in part of that. So, I mean, and it can be a tad old-fashioned, but we have to still keep that in, even though it's more than 50 years old. So, apologies if I was a little bit sort of saying about your disappointed with the document. I still am in a way, I think others are not. It's not. It's a clear way of doing it. I mean, I've tried to visit updates and sort of documents I have to look at, highlighting certain colours of things, but at the end of the day, you've obviously still got to go back to the A document without any track change or any formatting or any highlighting, which you can do now as you know, that picture, that picture, the highlighting and so on. But it's not straightforward, and I hope you accept my apology for being a little bit, I'm right, I do, and yeah, I will accept it at this given time. As we know, it's going to be looked at next year, so that's fine.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Honeyman, and thank you for your apology. It's accepted. Okay, so we have Councillor Dubar.
So I had an example of where I said that policies weren't updated and didn't fall in line with this, and I couldn't find it anywhere. It's on page 100, and it's to do with this item C. It's been crossed out. The mayor Chair and Deputy Mayor in their absence will conduct an annual appraisal of the town clerk. But that's been crossed out by saying look at the appraisal policy. But when you look at the appraisal policy, that's dated 2018. And it doesn't actually say that there'll be an annual appraisal. There are no timescales on the other policy. So in effect, you're actually crossing out that there'll be an annual appraisal. That's just one example. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much, Councillor Duval. Do you want to respond to that?
Yes,
Are you able to?
I think what I'd say, what we're trying to achieve with that change in standing orders is making sure that we're not accidentally contradicting between policies. So by pointing to the relevant policy from standing orders, we remove that risk of contradicting between two documents. I don't have the annual appraisal policy in front of me, but I'm pretty sure it does say that they will take place annually.
Councillor Honeyman, you might have something to say about it.
Yeah, I did have a quick look at it yesterday, but it's a little bit in depth. But it did say the review date was, I think, June 2021. So I did query why it hasn't been reviewed since when it was due to be done in 2021. And I think it did say that annually, but I haven't got it in front of me. But I do know, I did query as to why it's sort of, 3 years out of date now, as to why it hasn't been updated.
So it's on the list.
It's on the list, yeah.
I can come back on that. So unfortunately, I guess we have a number of policies now. I'm not sure how many of them can't quite remember the full figure, but they all come through our team. We've been a particularly busy team in recent years, which means the policy reviews haven't been able to take place when we had hoped. What we've learned kind of in the last 18 months is to stop being so optimistic. So we kept bringing kind of policy schedules through council each year, saying we'll do this year. We've kind of learned from that now, and we're trying to be more realistic with the reviews that can take place. What it does mean is we're having to absolutely prioritise what reviews need to happen versus what actually, unfortunately, we know there's some improvements that can be made, but we have to use them as they are. With regards to the appraisal scheme policy, the content is there. There will always be scope for improvement. We know that, but actually, the kind of the policy steer is there that's needed, and that's about annual appraisals being done, what their purpose is, how we report back on them. So that's captured within the policy. So people agree that it's not great that we're so far behind on the review, but when we've come to prioritise, we've realised this is the one that sits at the top of the list.
Okay, thank you for that, Georgia. Do we have another? I know I've just been checking on the other one. I've had 2 phones being shown me now. I don't have a phone. I'm just looking at the time. Okay, everyone. Do we have any other comments now? Thank you, Councillor Sturton.
I believe Councillor Hurrow proposed that we adopt these standing orders, and I would like to second that.
Okay, so if that's the end of the discussion and we have a proposal and a seconder, I now need to just say all in favour.
That's clearly carried, but not everyone shares, so if you'd like to do yes.
So do we have those that are not in favour? Against? Abstain?
2.
We have 4 abstentions. Okay. Good. Thank you very, very much.
Suspend standing order. I know you're meeting soon, just 5 minutes, please.
No, it's enough.
Yeah, I think I'd like to. Yeah, it's right. Yeah, it's right.
Standing orders is the only piece that's got the legislation in it, and you misquote it. That's what concerns me.
Okay, we're going to close the meeting, but we would appreciate your communication. Okay, thank you everyone for your participation.